Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well, and welcome back to one of my occasional series here on the channel called My Bikes, where I look at, well, one of my bikes. And today I'm talking to you about this, my trusty BMW R1200 GS. Now this is the bike that I frequently say if I could only have one of the motorcycles I own, this would be the one that I would have, because it's just a fantastic all-round motorcycle. And if you're interested in this machine, stick around and stay tuned, I'll tell you all about it. So here she is then, my brilliant BMW R1200 GS. This is a late 2013 model, or rather I bought it around Christmas time 2013, so it's actually a 2014 model year. The first of the liquid cooled bikes came out in 2012. And you can tell this is a 2013, this is a bit anarchy here, because this doesn't have a proper BMW badge on the back here. The original bikes had a proper one of those black and blue BMW badges there, the propeller badge. And then the other thing that gives this bike away as the second iteration of the bike is if you look under the front wheel here, it has a steering damper. Where can we see it? Somewhere around here, there we go, just there. You can see the steering damper. Again, the original of the new version of the liquid cooled bikes didn't have the steering damper as well, although the GSA always did. That was put there, I think, probably to make manufacturing between the GSA that came out the year later and the standard GS, sort of kept them in sync, if that makes sense. Other changes for the bike between now and when I bought this one, there's been some cosmetic changes. These strakes here are different now on the new bikes. These are a slightly different shape. Similarly, some of these contours have gone from the fuel tank on the newer bikes, on the 1250, and of course the biggest change on the 1250, the current bikes, they now have the shift cam engine, and it actually says shift cam on the rocker cover there as well. Okay, so much for the evolution of the bike. What's the spec of this thing? Okay, so enough about the bike in general. What about this particular machine, my version of the bike, the R1200 GS from 2013? Well, there she is. That's what she looks like. Still almost as good as new, showing one or two little signs now of wear, as you'd expect of a, well, 7-year-old bike. But in the main, I'm pretty pleased with how she's lasted over the years. Anyway, in my traditional manner, let me get the other camera out and I'll talk you through the spec in the usual way. Okay, here we go then. This is new for me. I'm actually using the wide angle on the phone. Let's see how this works. Okay, hopefully you can see that okay then. So first off, the engine then. Here she is, the big old famous for BMW Boxer twin, 1170cc horizontally posed twin. This one partially liquid cooled. Prior to that they were air cooled. This is very clever. It's sort of, I say partially liquid cooled because it has oil that floats around the tops of the cylinder head, but also, as you can see, it's got the cooling fins as well, so it's also air cooled. So very clever the way they've done that. That's done for efficiency, emissions and all that sort of thing, I think, to get it through Euro 4 initially. Power wise, puts out 125 brake horsepower at 7,700 RPM, which I find completely adequate for riding on the road, the sort of riding that I do. Torque wise, 125 newton meters of torque, that's 92 foot-pounds at 6,500 RPM, which is lovely, and that's what this bike really is all about, is the torque. It means you can ride the bike lazily if you want to, not changing gear too often, or you can you can ride it in a spirited, sporty manner. Anyway, the beauty I like of this engine is there is plenty of grunt available everywhere, so wherever you are in the rev range, whatever gear you're in, when you twist the throttle it will go. Brakes on this, very good. On this older model, they've still got Brembo badge brakes. On the current ones that they're badged, I think BMW actually now, but anyway, on this one, twin discs. 305mm on the front. You've got a single Brembo on the back on a 276mm disc as well, hidden under there. Suspension wise, this has got what I call the funny BMW telelever suspension on the front. It's very clever. It's basically like a front wishbone. I don't know if you can actually see it. I shouldn't have gone wide angle perhaps, but under there you just see this is like a wishbone arrangement before the spring, and basically what that does is that's what rather BMW call their telelever suspension. And the great thing, as far as I'm concerned, about that on these sort of big adventure bikes is when you hit the brakes hard on the front, it stops a lot of fork dive. I love it. Some people don't like it. They say it gives you a feeling of being a little bit detached from the road, but I personally find it absolutely fine. The suspension on the back is what they call paralever, and this one, because this is the TE version, I've got the electronic suspension on here. This was quite a thing in 2013, the ESA, 50,000 calculations a second, adjusting the damping as you go. The basic bike, if anybody ever buys the basic bike, doesn't have that, but the suspension on here is absolutely lovely. Seat height 850mm to 870 is standard, but I've got the low seat fitted on this because I'm a bit of a shorty, and that means I can flat foot at either side. You can get even factory lowered versions, so you can go lower than that if you want. So there is a GS available for people of all heights, even though it's obviously a big old bike. Tank capacity on this one, the standard GS, 20 litres. You can always get the GSA if you want more tank capacity, if you're living in the outback of Australia or something, but I find this is absolutely fine for all the tours I've done. I get a good 200 miles out of that tank. What else? Electronics, I suppose. At the time, this was class leading. Because it's got obviously ABS, traction control, no lean angle stuff in those days, of course. It's got the sat nav that's integrated via the whiz wheel here, which I'll talk about more later. It's got cruise control over there, all sorts of riding modes, including off-road, off-road pro. Yeah, as I say, at the time this was laden with electronics, but compared to today's bikes, I suppose not so much. But certainly it's got everything that I need. LED lights, heated grips, all that kind of stuff. The only thing it doesn't have, which I think it should have had as a bike that's primarily used for touring, is a heated seat. So I've actually added an aftermarket one that I fit in the winter. This is the normal BMW one on at the moment. Alright, what else can I tell you about the bike? The screen on here, this is adjustable. This is an aftermarket screen. I'll talk more about what I've done to the bike myself in a minute. But this is manually adjustable by this knob here. It's never had an electrically adjustable screen for some reason. They reserve that for the RT BMW, but maybe one day we'll see a GS with that, although you tend to sort of set and forget it, don't you, with the screens. And yeah, that's about it. The no TFT either on this, of course. Just come back up to the front here. This is the old school instrumentation, which had very small numbers on it. Made it quite difficult to see, but I tend to use the GPS as a sort of like a TFT if you like, and that seems to work really, really well. Price on this one, when I bought it, it cost me as a TE with luggage and bags, so I've got all that to go with it, plus the sat nav and the cylinder head protectors that you see on here from Touratech. I had all that fitted at the time I bought it, and it came to 15,175 back at the end of 2013. If I were to sell it today, I might get, say, £8,000 for it. So what's that, about £1,000 depreciation a year? But it's had way more added to it since then in terms of its spec. So let's whiz back home, and yeah, I'll show you some of the changes I've made in a minute. But before that, let me tell you a bit about what I love about the bike and what I don't love about the bike. Let's jump back on. So it's fairly clear then, I absolutely love the big GS. I wouldn't have kept it for so long if I hadn't, or if I didn't. But what are the sort of things I've learnt about the bike in terms of what are the best bits and what are the worst bits about the bike? Well, let's start with the best bits. And these aren't very exciting, but I think without a doubt the best bit of the bike for me, and one of the reasons why I've kept it for so long, is its comfort. The big old seat on here is nice and soft and padded, really comfortable for all day long riding. I've done 12-18 hour days on this bike, and I've had absolutely no problems at all. It's one of the most comfortable bikes I've ever ridden. Not only is it comfortable for me, but it's comfortable for my pillion as well. I occasionally take Mrs. Flower on the back. She always reports that this is the most comfortable bike that she's ridden on. So comfort is the first thing I love about it. Next thing I love about it is that engine and the grunt that it provides. I said in the walk around that it's a lovely grunty engine, and you can ride it lazily or you can ride it sportily. I just love that about it. I don't like the way the boxer sticks out of the engine, or rather the way it sticks out is looks of the engine, if you like, but I do like its ride characteristics. Originally I didn't think I'd get on with the boxer, but I can see why people love them. You can sort of abuse them in a way. Any gear there's shove. So I absolutely love the grunt of this engine. And then my other favourite thing that I have about this particular version of the bike, in fact all GS's and lots of BMWs generally, and this may seem a bit of a silly thing, but it really is a big deal for me, and that's this little whiz wheel down here that you control some of the functions on the LCD display. Certainly on the modern ones you do it on the TFT, but on this one I can control the sat nav as well. So if I want to move screens, I can just do it using that whiz wheel. That gave me a surprise in the Vauxhall. So I can move the whiz wheel, we see, and it just you know, I can control what I'm doing, change the various formats that I'm looking at. I can have it as a big TFT if I want, just showing the speed. It's absolutely brilliant. So I don't need to take my hands off the handlebars to control all that. So that sat nav effectively becomes like a decent TFT to me. So I've no need for a TFT on this bike. So yeah, that's one of the things I love, is this this control wheel. It's not just the GS that has that, but lots of BMWs, they've nailed that. Okay, so what are the things I don't like about the GS then. No bike is perfect, of course, and there are some things about this that I'm not too keen on. First on that list is the gearbox. They've got better over the years. The current 1250 GS has a much smoother gearbox than this does. I've had the quick shift assist pro fitted to this, the up and down quick shifter, but even with that, the gearbox is still what I would call agricultural. So the gearbox I definitely don't like on this bike. I've had bikes with worse gearboxes, it has to be said, but it's still not a great gearbox on the big GS. I'll put that down to the way it works with the boxer engine. The next thing I don't like about the bike, and this might just be particular to the UK, and that's the image of the bike. It's very much seen as a dad's bike, or a sort of a boring bike, or a sensible bike, or a bike that old people have. Now, I am an old person, I'm in my 50s, but I would suggest that most motorcyclists, or at least hobbyist motorcyclists, are of that sort of age group. And I like to think that with age comes wisdom, and that's why so many of these bikes sell. That's why these remain, you know, top of the top sellers list. It's because they're actually great bikes, and people of my age appreciate that, things like the comfort, etc. So I don't like the image though that comes with it. Some people don't wave at you, people on sports bikes and stuff like that. You're sort of a bit like being a Harley rider. For no good reason, you're pigeonholed, at least in this country, into a group that people don't want to associate with. When you buy a GS, you've somehow checked out of motorcycling, it seems. I don't get that, but that is one of the things I don't like about it. And then the final thing that I don't like about the GS, frankly, is its cost. They're now so expensive. To get a bike spec'd up like this, a new one, would cost me in the region, with the baggage and stuff, around about £18,500. Awful lot of money for a bike. It's not just BMWs that are expensive, but BMWs are at the premium end. And the other problem with the GS is every time you take it in for a service or whatever, it's always quite expensive. You know, I've had cars that cost less to run than this bike does in terms of its servicing and so on. So yeah, the cost is something I don't like about it. Again, I might be being a little bit unfair to single out BMW, and GS is in particular for that, but I do find this quite a costly bike to run. By the way, lots of people ask me what this barrier thing is that you occasionally see on my videos. It's called a guardsman, as you can see, and it's basically a barrier that goes across the garage door and keeps your bike secure. It's a brilliant thing. I made a video recently called I think my favourite security products of 2020, and I talk all about this in there. So I'll stick a link to that if you're interested in the guardsman barrier. There's also a discount code on that one. Go and check that out. Anyway, back to the bike then. Here she is. What sort of modifications have I done over the years on this? Because you know, you always want to make a bike your own, don't you? So let me talk you through the various mods as best I can remember them on my GS. Actually, clever me, I don't have to remember them because I actually wrote them down. I've got them here on a piece of paper, so let me talk you through. First thing, I added the low seat, which I mentioned when we did the walk around. That just means I can get my feet on the deck nice and easily, and then in the depths of winter that one comes off and I replace that with a heated seat, an aftermarket one that I got. I added on the front the official BMW auxiliary lights. They're these ones here, and the great thing about that is they when you have them fitted, they are quite expensive, but it means you end up getting the proper BMW switchgear. So if we look back up here, you'll see here I've got the proper button here on this on the handlebars for the actual proper BMW auxiliary lights. The other thing that I added, which I mentioned earlier, if I come around this side of the bike, is the Quick Shift Assist Pro. I don't think there's anything to see here, but except for maybe some differences around this housing. But so this has the up and down quick shifter that I actually added as an aftermarket part. Well, not aftermarket, it was done by the dealer, but you know what I mean. I didn't have it done when I bought the bike. Next thing to mention is this. This is an MRA Vario screen. In fact, this whole screen is a replacement, but this is the bit that's of interest to me because it's like a spoiler. These work an absolute treat. I've fitted these on various bikes that I've had before, and they just stop any dirty air hitting your helmet. They sort of basically cut down turbulence. The trick to getting that to work is to mount this bit horizontally or in line with the screen itself. Don't have it flipped up, trying to make the screen bigger, but actually have it horizontally, and it sort of keeps something called laminar flow in check, and it stops the turbulence hitting your helmet. That was a brilliant ad. What else have I listed here? Oh, Hex EasyCan. Nothing to show you here except that I've got like an extra wiring loom. Again, I have made a video on this if you search for it, and if I've got space and I can, I'll put a link to Hex EasyCan as well. It allows you to do things like add additional electrical equipment without having to you know, hack into the CAN bus on the machine. It also gives you some clever things like, if I turn her on, see if I can do this, it does things like makes these additional light strobes. So if I hit the I love this little thing, I'm just showing this because it's fun. If I hit the headlight flasher 3 times, there you go, I get this going on. Now I'm sure the police don't like that, and it's not really any practical purpose, but you can do it. The other good thing, if I do things like switch on the hazard lights, for example, look, if I turn the hazard lights on, you can see it then alternates between the indicators and the auxiliary lights down there as well. And there's all sorts of other clever things that the fitting the hex easy can allows you to do. So that was quite a fun mod. What else have I noted here? Oh yeah, additional, I'm talking about the hex easy can, additional auxiliary lights. So these ones down here on the crash bars as well, by the way, I added. These are cheap eBay specials. Again, I've got a video on fitting those. They've worked a treat. They've been on there probably 2-3 years now in all sorts of weathers. They're still going strong. They're about 30 quid or something. In fact, the bracket they're mounted on costs more than the lights. And they're brilliant. They chuck out loads of light. Compare that to these BMW ones, which I think they're about 400 quid fitted. So quite a difference. So yeah, extra auxiliary lights as well added. Okay, moving up the bike, another little mod. These are called grip puppies. They just make these grips, well, a bit more grippier. I've had these on here probably for 4 or 5 years. I thought they were going to soak up moisture and make the things, you know, all yucky when you use them, but they've been on there absolutely fine, and they're still going strong. I bought another set that just hanging up here. I've had them for ages, just because I thought I was going to have to replace them at some point. I've never had to replace them. They're brilliant. They just make the bike that much more comfortable if you're on a long journey. Next up that I noted, better hand guards. These things, these are from Machine Art. They're called advanced hand guards. I've got these. These are eminently adjustable. These grey bits come out if you want them to. If you want to have airflow in the summer, that comes right through the hand guards. Or as you can see via these adjusters in here, you can loosen these off. This bit flips up, and then in the winter your hands keep way away out of the breeze. So that's another little mod. Quite expensive, but they're made from lovely machine. Well, not if they're machine, but solid aluminium anyway. They'll also be, you know, good protection against branches if you do go off road. Other mods. I changed the tyres. Of course, you change the tyres, number of tyres, but the tyres I've come sort of settled on recently are these. These are the Metzeler Rotec 01s. I've had these on. These are my second set of these now. I used these when I went all the way up to the Arctic Circle, and I did way over 8,000 miles on my first set, which is a lot more than I would normally do on a big heavy bike. So that's why I fitted another set, and these got loads of life in them yet. I've added various frame fillers. So if you look around the bike, things like here, down here and here, these covers aren't as standard. Normally those holes are left open. Again, they were sent to me by a supplier, so I added them, but they just stop some of the moisture getting in and stop grunge and that sort of nesting in there, or indeed birds nesting in there. So I just added those as well, a little added extra. It's got various GoPro mounts on it, obviously from my filming, so you see one on the screen there. What else can I show you? I mentioned earlier the cases that I bought, the top box and the side cases. I keep these here mounted on the wall. They're the side cases. And this top box, the reason why I want to show you this is because I added this pad on the back here. Again, this is something that just keeps Mrs. Flyer happy. Just the backrest on the top box just makes it that much, well, it feels safer for the pillion. Whether it is or not, I don't know, but she certainly claims it makes her feel safer with them on there. What else have I got? The exhaust. Now, this is the standard exhaust on here. I did swap this out for an Arrow one at one point, which was a bit more fruity sounding. Definitely made the bike feel a little bit more sporty as well. But given I primarily use this as a touring bike, I just found it a bit fatiguing over time. It was very loud. In the end, I thought, blow this for a game of soldiers. I'll put the standard cam back on, and I eBayed the other one. All right, I think that's about it for the mods. If I can, and I can remember, I'll put links below to the various bits and pieces I've talked about. I think that's all of it. One of the things about the BMW GS, there are loads of aftermarket companies that make modifications and accessories for the bike, so you can knock yourself bandy with them and, you know, go nuts. Actually, I just remembered another one. Here we are. Just spotted one that I changed here. We've got a USB mod. I've got 2 USB chargers in there. The standard bike just comes with one of those, I can't remember what they're called now, but just a socket that you can plug things like compressors and stuff in. I find the USB ones a little bit more practical. They were from Nippy Normans. Again, I'll stick some links below if I remember. Another mod I've just remembered as I look around. Down here we've got a fly lead. Look, this is a battery charger lead. This is so I can plug in my my battery chargers. I've got a tracker on this bike. Unfortunately, I didn't go for the Monimoto ones, which I normally recommend. The tracker I've got on here is a bike track one. It's great functional-wise, but it's expensive each year subscription-wise, and it drains the battery. So when the bike's in here, I always plug it in via that fly lead. Right, I think that is it for all the mods. So, what have I used my BMW GS for? Well, there's no doubt that the GS is a capable off-road bike. if you want to ride them off-road and you're a bit of an off-road expert or a fan, then you absolutely can do it on these. And I've ridden this, not this one, but other GSs off-road many times, and it can be done. Although for me personally, if I want to ride off-road, I would choose something a little bit more lighter and smaller. Something like my Honda CRF would suit me off-road. So no, that's not why I bought this. I bought this for the same reason as most people I would put out their bike, and that is because I wanted a comfortable touring bike that was capable of taking lots of kit and a pillion if I needed to. When I first bought the bike, I did lots of UK tours, something I've missed in the last couple of years actually. I need to start doing that again. So I've taken this bike all around the UK. I've done various tours of Wales. You can see these on my YouTube channel, by the way. They're there from a few years back. I've done Cornwall and the West Country. I've done the Peak District. I've done the Lake District. I've been up to Scotland multiple times. I've done the North Coast 500 on it. I've done the Western Isles on it. I've done the, did I mention the Peak District? I've done the Yorkshire Dales and the Yorkshire Moors. Basically all the top riding places in the UK I have ridden on this, except for Ireland, I must put that right, but everywhere else I've done. And as I say, all those tours, or pretty much most of them, are on the channel. If you haven't seen those videos, go and check out my tour playlist. I have also ridden the bike abroad, and the biggest tour I've done on this bike, and one of the most enjoyable tours I've ever done in fact, was when I rode this very machine up to north of the Arctic Circle via Belgium, well, Holland, Belgium, Germany, and then Norway. That was an epic ride. Again, series in the corner here somewhere of that whole ride. Absolutely brilliant. And this bike, I think that was something like, well, it's at least a couple of thousand miles that we did in a couple of weeks, and this bike absolutely handled it with aplomb. As a touring bike, this bike has been absolutely brilliant. It carries lots of stuff, it takes you in comfort, it takes your peeling in comfort if you want to, and yeah, as a touring bike it absolutely scores. It helps too that it looks a bit rugged, and if you do want to take the odd fire trail or do a bit of off-roading, you can do that too. But yeah, for me it's all about the touring. Okay, so in my time with the Mighty GS, what issues have I had then? Well, not given I've had it for 7-8 years, not too many actually. First thing, I guess, was the fork recall that GS's had. So if you buy one of the older GS's, make sure the recall's been done. You can tell that by, if you look at the tops of the forks here, you can see it's got this sort of brass collar. If the recall's not been done, it won't have the brass collar on there. That was something that obviously BMW put right. So that was one thing, wasn't really an issue, but just a recall had to be dealt with. Another problem I had recently was the rear caliper seized up and froze on me. Again, not much to see here, but yeah, this little blighter actually seized up on me, so I had to take it to the dealer and get that freed up, because the brake lever had seized up as well. So that's all working now. The brakes on the BMW, they're linked front and back, so as you apply the front brake you get a little bit of back as well. I noticed the disc was getting a little bit warm, and eventually it did seize up, so that's something to look out for, I guess. And then the only other problem I had, which was a major one, and which again I made videos on, was I did have a complete suspension failure at the back. This electronic suspension unit let go for me, and unfortunately it was very expensive to put right. It's a long story, go and watch that video, but let's say no more about that for now. But in the main, it has proven to be relatively reliable with those little caveats. Okay, so maybe you're thinking about getting yourself a BMW GS then. What would I, as a long-term owner, what advice would I give for people looking to buy one of these? Well, if you're looking to buy one second-hand, do look for a decent service history. They've got to be well maintained. That goes without saying, really. I'd also say just check for some signs of rust if you're getting an older bike. Some of the engine cases on these suffered early on with some corrosion, just around, particularly the ones with the silver finish, some little bits of bubbling on the paint. Some engines got replaced, I think, under warranty for that. I haven't suffered from that on this bike, but some bikes do have that. Also, things like the centre stand can go a bit rusty. That's often the case on many bikes. Check things like it has had that recall done on the front forks. It'll have the little brass collars on the top of it, has, and the service book should be stamped up accordingly. And just make sure that the suspension, if you've gone for one with the electronic suspension, and most of them are, make sure that's all working properly. Sit on the bike, cycle it up and down, make sure you can feel the bike going up and down, make sure that's working okay. Other than that, I would say absolutely go for it. Just because people take the mickey out of GS riders doesn't mean to say it's not an absolutely brilliant bike. They keep being persistently the best-selling bike in Europe, and that's for good reason, because they are just fantastic all-round bikes. They're not brilliant at anything, but they're just great at everything. and that's what makes it endearing to me. Anyway, this bike, as long as she keeps running, I'll keep looking after it. No plans to change it. I absolutely love it. Hope you've enjoyed that video. If it's the first time you've been to the Missenden Flyer, then thanks for joining me. Do stick around till after the end credits, if that's the right word, because I'll go through all the stuff that I'm wearing to save you asking me, what's that kit you're wearing? I'll talk you through that in my fashion segment, which is becoming a popular feature on the channel. And if you haven't seen the channel before, then I don't just do bike reviews here on the channel, but I do bits and pieces about looking after your bike. I do monthly bike news, where I talk through all the stuff that's going on in the world of motorcycling here in the UK, do the odd live stream, trips and tours at home and abroad, basically everything to do with motorcycling. I try and cover it here on the Missenden Flyer. It'd be great to have you hit that subscribe button, and that way I can see you on the next video. Alright, that's it for now. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio. Alright, so thanks for sticking around. To the fashion segment then. A lot of people often ask me, when you see me on the bike, what is it that the various bits of kit that I'm wearing? So to save me answering all those comments, I'll give you a quick run down the kit you see me wearing today. First off, you saw the helmet. Now that is my showy NXR. It's not a helmet I often wear when I'm riding the adventure bikes. I often wear my Array Tour X4, you will have seen that before. But the NXR is my sort of favourite vlogging helmet, if you like, so that's what that's about. I'll stick a link below, by the way, to all this stuff that I'm talking about. Next up, let's do, actually I've written it down here, neck buff, of course, can't forget that. This is Model Zone neck buff. This is the TMF neck buff available from our website, which is www.themissendenflyer.com. Just £8. Get them in quick while you can. While we're talking about that, you can also get these. This is my base layer. You can get them on the website as well. Sort of a thin thing, ideal for in the summer like it is today. Just wearing that only, and then my jacket. Talking about the jacket, this is my Richer Arc jacket. It's one of these fancy laminated jackets. It's really good actually, both in winter and in summer. Keeps you properly bone dry. Quite expensive, around about £570 I think one of these will cost you. It does have a zip out thermal layer. I've taken it out because it is summer at the moment, even though it's a dull day. But I just find this a great jacket all year round. It's really hard wearing, so if you come off the bike, it feels like it's going to be solid and with good abrasion. It's got all the right stuff in the elbows and shoulders, and a back protector as well. I really like it. I think it looks good. Yeah, so that's my Richer Arch jacket. Stick a link below. Next up, these gloves that you may not have seen me wearing before. I might not have talked about them before, because I've had these years. These are the Vice Deacon gloves. Technically, I think they are actually a summer glove. They've got a lot of ventilation. As you can see, they're both sort of joint leather and textile. I just find them very comfortable. Again, I've got a high degree of confidence that they're going to give you good protection, because they've got knuckle protection, they've got you know, double padding where you're going to hit the deck, etc. Yet they are still ventilated. Having said that, for summer, I've also used these in the winter, and they're so good from a flexibility point of view. I tend to wear them all year round. So that's the gloves. Where have we got to? Jeans. Oh yeah, these are my well, I've talked about these a lot. These are my Oxford original approved jeans. What I like about these is that they have made, they've done something very clever with the material. They've sort of woven in the aramid, you know, the abrasion fibres together with denim, made their own material that is just as protective as leather. In fact, more so, I think. Has all the right pads and stuff. Again, you know, these are D3O pads in here, so nice and comfortable, and they don't look ridiculous when you're off the bike as well. So they're Oxford original approved jeans. I've got these in the slim fit. And then last but not least, my boots, which you may have seen before. That's them. These are called TCX Gore-Tex, or GTX Pro. I think they're called GTX Pro, GTX standing probably for Gore-Tex. I like them because they're sort of street boots again. You can wear them when you go down the pub, say, and you're not going to look absolutely ridiculous. They have got a good degree of protection at the ankle, and of course, being Gore-Tex, they are waterproof. There we go. So I think that's everything. So links to all them below. Full disclosure, those are affiliate links from Sports Bike Shop. So if you do click on those, you'll be doing the channel a favour, because I'll get a little bit of a kickback, but at no extra cost to you. And also, I challenge you to find a better supplier than Sports Bike Shop. They don't pay me to say this, by the way, but their service is excellent and the prices are always good, so I do recommend them to you anyway. All right, check those out below. All right, see you again soon. Cheers. Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here. Hope you're well. Out and about. Let's do it again. 3, 2, 1. Oh fuck! Got a good horn.